Good morning. It's Saturday morning, the 10th of April. This is Ron Brown. This is going to be a short summary of the market analysis using my files in HGSI Investor. Now, it was another, of course, record week in the markets, and it just seems inevitable that this market is going to continue up. So you really have to go with the flow. What I want to do is show you some of the things that I can do with this program, and users in the Insider Club who have my files can also do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going into the designer. I have this folder called Market Analysis User Groups. I'm going to click on the Major Markets Plus folder, go to the Warehouse view, and then I will go up to my top-down process view for market analysis, click on that, and what this gives me is a view of this folder, which I call Major Markets Plus, and I call it that because it's got the major markets plus it has several ETFs in here for comparison, so I can get a feel for the broader market rather than just looking at the major indexes. Now, this is a view that I've put together. I've been modifying my views to make them more useful, and what it contains is, of course, the name, date, all that stuff, plus the VPA volume, spread, and close. Now, these three columns are based upon Wyckoff principles, and then as I move across here, I can see the columns. This is the days since the 3 crossed the 6 to the upside, to the downside, the days since the volume point of control crossed up or down. And this is very useful information, and I've become more and more dependent upon these columns because they are really good indicators of what a ETF index or a stock is doing. For example, I can look down these columns and see how long the short-term trend has been in effect. That is the 3 above the 6. And if I just go down here and I'll just take the industrial average for an example. 10 days ago, remember, 0 is always a crossover day. The Dow Jones Industrial, the 3 went up through the 6, and also on that same day, the volume point of control turned positive. So if I bring up this chart over here on the right, put a crosshair on it, the same day that the volume point of control turned positive, in other words, the bulls were taking control of this index, the 3 went above the 6. And that is shown right here with this spike above the 0 line. So these two factors happened on the same day, the 3 crossing the 6 and the volume point of control going from rose to green as the bulls took control. And you can clearly see that it was in a short-term downtrend, and then the candle was very strong here, went sideways for a few days, and then it's out to an all-time high. So these these 4 columns, I should say, have become critical information to me, because I can know before I even bring up a chart how many days it's been since the crossovers occurred, or if they're still negative. Let's just go down here. That's the 20-year short treasuries. So I'm going to go somewhere else. Let's see, what do we have here? That's the Ultra VIX short term. As you would expect, this ETF is down. Happened a long time ago. 25 days ago, the 3 crossed the 6, and the VPOC turned negative 14 days ago. It had a 1-day blip up, but the clear back here, if you look over here at the right hand side, that's where the 3 went down below the 6, and it's been in a downtrend since. So this is the way the market looks right now as of Saturday morning based upon this, and you can see that several of these indexes have been positive for quite some time. Now they have to have volume, or this number obviously is not going to calculate. So if you see the NASDAQ 100 index, which doesn't have volume associated with it, you can see the volume window is empty. You're going to get a number 788. It just means there's no volume on there. Now if I go down to the NASDAQ composite one below it, you can see that the 3 crossed the 6 7 days ago, and the volume point of control crossed 8 days ago. Remember that 0 is always a crossover day. So if I bring this up, you'll see that this is colored down here, and the VPOC went positive, and the next day the 3 crossed the 6, and before that there was a test for supply, confirmation of that test, and another test. And all that information is here in the chart, and on the day it happens, it is also in this warehouse view. So if these signals are occurring on that day, and let me go back to the move over here, you can see there's a test for supply today, and there's a 0 beside this on the NASDAQ composite, the test for supply. So whenever there is a 0 in this column here, the VPA column, or the days since, it's going to say yes if there's a signal, and it's going to give you the days since in this column. So a lot of information in these warehouse views that I am that I've set up. Put a lot of work into these to so they make sense. They make sense to me, and hopefully they make sense to the members of the Insider Club. So just a quick reading down here. If we look down this column, I can see that so many of these, or the bulk of these indexes and ETFs, are above the 3 and the 6, which is bullish, and I can look over here and see the number of days since the volume point of control. Now I'm just going to drop on down to the major market ETFs. I'll go to my next view, which is end of day ETFs. Pretty much the same information, but slightly different. And if I sort on raw combo, which is the percentage price change one day, as was the prior view, I can see what's going on. Now what's on the top, the U.S. home construction ETF. This has been very strong. You can see using these columns, I can see that 11 days ago, the 3 went above the 6, and the volume point of control also happened that same day. So let's transfer this information to the chart. This would be the day the volume point of control went positive, and also the 3 crossed the 6. And look what's happened. The index just keeps going up, or the housing stocks. Here's the S&P 500 growth portfolio. One day later, the volume point of control turned positive, and the 3 versus the 6 also turned positive. You can see why I'm concentrating on these two indicators. This, along with the VPA flags, are really all we really need to know to find out the direction and or the strength of a move. Now I'm going to bring the ranking module into play here. Ranking module is one of the modules in HGSI, and I really haven't given it enough emphasis, but that's going to change, or it is changing. I did a webinar the other day for the Insider Club members, and I used the ranking module quite a bit, and I'm just going to click on it. What it does is it transfers this information from the warehouse view into the ranking module, and depending on what I want to show, you can see it's set on Wilder 14 weeks now, which puts the strongest charts near the top of the list. But I'm more interested in what happened last week, so I'm going to compare this last, let's see, I need to change that to a 1. What happened last week versus I need to change this major markets indexes. I'll go with the SPX. And then I will change this from relative strength to raw relative strength. And here is the SPX, SPY. The base is 100. So during the last week, the ARKF outperformed the S&P by 1.44%. Now I've put the ARK funds in the folder under major market ETFs, and also I have them in the up here in the major markets plus, because there's an awful lot of interest in them now, as you know, and I just want to see how they compare to the market. So the growth portfolio outperformed by 1.37. The QQQ outperformed by 1%. If I want to change this to percent change 1 week, I can see the actual percentage of the move for the week. So the ARKF was up 4.19%. Now if I bring a weekly chart up here, see what comes up here. I'll make this a weekly chart. And if you look here, it's 4.199. If you look down here, the percent change on the week's 4.20. So it rounded it off, but you can see how much these have gained, and it's the same percentage move that you'll see in a weekly chart. I'm back here at the warehouse, and I want to see home construction shares ETFs into the ranking module, and it clicks through. It was up 2.6672%. If I bring this up in the weekly chart, you can see right here 2.67%. Now let's look at the weakness. You can see the U.S. oil fund was down 2.86%. The ARK Genomic Revolution ETF was down 1.97%. The Russell ETFs were down, so the strength was actually in the bigger portfolios, or the larger indexes, I should. Now I'm going to choose another group. I'm going to go to my broad market indices. These are indexes that are created by HGSI Investor, and their market cap weighted. I'll click through to the indexes, and I'll just move this out of the way, bring up the quick pick, and I have a folder specifically for HGSI indexes. And let's see, here it is. You can see under HGSI indexes, just a basic scorecard. I've clicked through to it already. I'm going to get out of here, and once again you can see that I have put the columns in here because they're extremely useful, and really I don't believe there's anything else that we need to stay on top of what's happening. Look what's on top based upon the percentage price change 1 day, the Dow Industrials. If I want to put this in the ranking module, I just click through, and this is 1 week, and you can see that the Dow was up 4.40. If I bring the Dow up, here is the number right here, and it's broken out to a new high. Now this is a market weighted index. That's the way I select, or let me just go up here to preferences, global index options. I use 104 weeks market value weighted index to put more emphasis on the larger market cap stocks. 104 weeks is 2 years, and I'll just cancel that. So that's what I use, and this is how I get the numbers. So if you do your own calculating and your numbers are different, your indexing numbers are probably set up improperly. So going back to the Dow Industrials, I've already talked about this, but this is a little different index. Remember, I just showed you it's a market weighted index, and going back here, the VPOC went positive here on the same day that the 3 crossed the 6. If I go over here, you can see they're both 9s, which would be 10 days ago. And this is how you can stay on top of what the market's doing. Yeah, you're going to have chop. I mean, it does this, but that's the way it goes. Nothing, as we know, ever goes straight up or straight down, and it's a test of patience. I want to point out that all of these indexes except the small cap index are positive on the days since the 3 crossed the 6. It went negative yesterday on this one, and you can barely see it. It's right. I'll make this full screen. Let's see if if you look up here, this is the 3 and the 6, and it's really impossible to see, but it went slightly negative. But the volume point of control is still positive. So the S&P 600 is just kind of going sideways. Where is the real strength here? It's in the Dow. The top 100 stock holdings in ETFs is number 2. And these are large cap stocks. If I want to see what's in here, I just go down to this, and it shows me the stocks worth the strength within here for 1 week. I just click through to the ranking module, and you can see that Apple was up 8.126, Kohl's 7.63, Amazon 6.68. Bring Apple up, so it should say 8% on the weekly here. If I click this, 8.13%. So big move in Apple on the Apple chart. There was a test and a confirmation of that test this week. Let's go over here and look at the VPOC. Crossover happened here, and the 3 crossed the 6 on the same day. You can see that. You can see how useful these columns are. If I want to see what the groups did over the week, here's the percentage price change 1 day, and here's 5 days. So over 5 days, the industry group that Facebook is in was up 7.40. You can see that Facebook crossed 9 days ago on the 3 crossing the 6, and 9 days ago on the VPOC. Right here and right here, and it really hasn't looked back. That's all I'm going to cover today. The market's very strong. You can see which stocks are strong, which it's you can't fight it. It's going up right now. Okay, now I just went back to this. If I flip these back here into the ranking module, I can sit here and continue my analysis. Oh, I guess I should show you one more thing. I'm going to go to all securities. I'll hit my alternate space bar, and then I'm going to bring up the quick pick. If you go into, I call this generate top 50. This is my morning process. One of the things that I just added, well, it's been in the program. I just brought it up here into this folder. I want to know the stocks that are crossing over on the VPOC today, or as of yesterday, Friday. I'll sort on raw combo because these are demand stocks, and you can see that Lennar, the VPOC, crossed over the 13. It's been in an uptrend. I know that without looking at the chart for 25 days. The 3's been above the 6. So if I look over here, the 3's been above the 6 since this point right here. We had a 1-day pullback on the volume point of control. The bears were trying to gain control, but then we get the VPOC to the upside. So this column right here is going to be all zeros because these are crossing over today. So I can get a feel for whether the the 3 is crossing the 6 and the VPOC's going positive, or if the 3 is above the 6 already, VPOC's going positive, or if they're both negative and so on. Works out very well. Look at this. Home builders. Look at all these home builders that crossed the VPOC fired yesterday. This one here, Taylor Morrison, both fired. Let's take a look at it and I'll end this. There's a VPOC. Here's your 3 going back up through your 6. It's hard to see, but it's happened right there. And once again, these 2 columns are very valuable. Thank you for listening. Have a good weekend, and I'll be visiting or putting more videos out there in the near future.